Hey, my inky crafty friends, it's Haley Dyer, the Inky Scrapper, coming to you live 2nd of July, 2026. I can't believe it is almost the 250th birthday of America. I'm very excited about that. I hope that you have fun. If you're American, at least, I hope you have some fun plans to celebrate. I'm just double checking, and I'm not seeing that we are live. Okay, yep, we are. Okay, good. Hello again. Again, it's Haley Dyer, the Inky Scrapper, and it is July 2nd, 2026, and I'm going to walk you through how to make a double easel fun fold card. I made one earlier today for my new team member, Amber. I'm not going to show it here yet because I want her to be able to see it first, so I actually might need to take a video of it. I took some good pictures of it earlier. I think it turned out really pretty. So this is going to be the same style card, but a little bit simpler version. Also, I'm going to try something new and write down some of the measurements as we go. Of course, if you are one of my customers, you will get a project sheet later, maybe this weekend, before next Thursday at least. But if you're not local and you wanted to see how to make this, maybe this will help. I don't know. I'm always trying to do better. I feel like that's an important part of life, right? So what you see in front of you is some of the Artisan Garden DSP. It is completely black and white, and I love, it does come 12 by 12. I just have some cut down pieces. I love these vases or vases, depending on whatever. And so I quickly cut out this. You can see I started just a fast cut around it, and I started fussy cutting. This is going to be our focal image, but I want to do a little fussy cutting on camera for a few little tips. And then, excuse me, I was going to use one of these backgrounds. Let me see, this one, but I was worried about making the pattern match, and so I went with the polka dots instead, and that'll make a little bit more sense when we get going. So let me move the paper out of the way and walk you through what we have. We have a lot of black and white and golden glow. So I pre-cut 2 different pieces of basic white cardstock. So the first one we're going to look at measures 4 1/4 by 11. So that's going to be our card base. I am going to grab my paper trimmer because I wanted to show you how it cuts and scores. I don't know if I'm going to do any cutting tonight, but definitely going to do some scoring. So the dark blade is your cutting blade. The light blade is your scoring blade. I've had a lot of trimmers in my 26 plus career as a paper crafter, and I will say that this Stampin' Up! One is my favorite. It is the best, it seems like, for a true 90-degree scoring and whatnot. So I'm very pleased with this. So let me make a note really quickly that our first layer is a 4 1/4 by 11 inch, and I'm gonna put CS for cardstock. You can use whatever color you like, and I'm gonna score it in half at 5 1/2, just like that, and give it a little score and then a little fold. And then I am going to use my bone folder. I've got it over here somewhere. There we go, to just burnish that really well. All right, so top fold card, that's not the exciting part. We're going to cover this. We're going to have some fun with that. The next piece that I have, this is the fun part. This piece measures 4 inches by 10 1/4 inches. It will be, I know it's not a contrasting color yet. It will be. I decided you guys are going to help me decide if we want a black card front or a golden glow card front, and I decided rather than making the card bases those colors and then having to line them with white, I would just start with a white card base. I do have some pieces to embellish the inside, so let me set those out of the way. So again, going back to the double easel part, this one measures 4 inches by 10 1/4. That could be a contrasting color. It will be when the card is done. It just isn't contrasting just yet. Here's some of the magic that you'll need. We're going to score it at 5 inches. There we go. And I want to do mountain and valley folds, so I'm going to turn it over so that it's scoring the other way, and I'm going to put that score line at 2 1/2 inches. It sort of disappears there, but I've got that line there. All right, so 5 inches was the first score. Move the score line to 2.5. I could extend the arm and tell you what that was, probably 7.5. Don't quote me on that one, but I don't need to. So now I've got those two folds, and I will fold. Here is the valley, and here is the mountain. Now don't be alarmed. The first time I made this, I freaked out because this is longer than the base. It's supposed to be that way. So again, scored at 5 inches and then 2.5 inches to make the mountain and the valley. And I am going to burnish those. So if you are joining me live or on replay, I would love a little hello. Let me know where you're watching from, especially if you're not someone that I've met yet. Alrighty, so this is our double easel. That's the base of it. So that's going to go on our card front. And now we get to decorate it. I did pre-cut some things. I grabbed my everyday arches because I love these arches. And this one, let's see, I can't remember if it's the large, I think it's the next to largest one. Let me double check. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks here. So yeah, it's the second largest one. I went ahead and used some scrap cardstock and cut them all out and then numbered them from 1 being the outside all the way to the inside. There are 10 total arches in this set. I love it. But this really helps me use as a guide. So I used the second largest one and I cut the polka dots. Like I said, I wanted on the back and this flap, and so trying to line it up with the pattern with a flower pattern was going to be really hard. So I chose the polka dots. So what I did is I ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I did not do the whole length. I cut it just a little bit shorter because I didn't really need it to go completely to the bottom. And then I ran it back through. I did it twice because I had miscut this piece. So this one is maybe a little, oh, maybe that's the right one. Let me see. Yeah, this is the correct one. How did I do that? I don't remember. Anyway, it's going to go like that. And then this is going to go on here behind it. I want to make sure that I cover that fold. So I'm actually going to adhere the front piece first, using my Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to pull in this Golden Glow piece so that I have a mat, like so I can see this better. It's very sticky on the edge. I want to get this up to the top. Whoops, trying to get it not flush, but like centered left to right, top to bottom. I think that's pretty good. Oh, I think that's a little bit crooked. So, okay, that was a little bit crooked. Let me try again. Sorry if you're looking at the top of my head. Yeah, that's better. And I'm going to trim that with my papers, decorative detail scissors. I do cut from the back all the way across. I didn't want to use liquid glue on the DSP. It might warp it just a little bit. Alrighty, so I've got that piece, and then this one is going to go behind it on this flap, and I think I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. I don't like that overlap. That looks a lot better. So again, isn't that pretty? I had a hard time deciding which side I wanted to use. Okay, so again, I'm going to just lightly place that. That looks really nice. I think I nailed that one. Yay. All right, so here is the start of our double easel. See how that comes together? So I went ahead and pulled 2 dies. This die will be to highlight that beautiful vase. And then I want to cut a golden glow mat. So I just pulled the next largest die, and I'm going to show you how to die cut if you're not familiar with that already. Let me set this to the side. I'm going to use, like I said, the larger of the two dies. I do want to use, this is two-tone cardstock, so I've got a lighter shade and the true color. I'm going to use the true color side up. So let me grab my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I just put my plates in, let me run them out backwards so that they were ready to go. Alrighty, so always check your manual's instructions, but for this one I have plate number 1. I put plate 2 on top. It's already well loved, so I'm using the reverse side. Place this down. Place this on top. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit crooked on there. I have plenty of extra. And the number 2 plate on top of that. Let me wipe it clean. This one I'm trying to keep from cutting on, so that'll make sense. Not so much now, but for future projects. Okay, so I've got the little sandwich. I'm gonna hold it carefully, start pushing it into my machine, and here we go. So sometimes they're snap, crackle, and popping. I'm surprised it's gonna pop here at the end. Sometimes you'll hear it and it sounds like it's breaking. It's not. It's all good. And so here we go with that beautiful arch. And I have a recycle bin at my feet, so I'm going to toss that in there. All right, so these will all get layered together, but I'm going to wait. I always like to do my design work and whatnot and really glue last. So I started cutting this already. I'm going to, again, mat this with the Golden Glow. I didn't want to cut it out completely off camera because I wanted to give you a few tips on fussy cutting. Stampin' Up! Recently posted a video about fussy cutting. It's a great, fun little technique. It means just cutting out little intricate cuts. But it's important to note that you want to turn your paper more than your scissors. I'm not going to say you're never going to turn your scissors because that would be a lie, but really you want to let the paper move as you're closing the scissors. And I'm just following that line with maybe an 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to come back around. Oops. Get my scissors back in here. This is a little bit tricky. It's a little bit trickier than I thought it was going to be for the camera. There we go. And then bring this back around. So again, see how I'm really making an effort to move the paper, and the angle of the scissors is pretty much staying the same. All right, so there we go. This all fussy cut out, and now I want to do a little bit of coloring. I grabbed some coordinating colors. So I'm going to start with the light balmy blue Stampin' Blend to do some water in my glass, in my vase. And I'm just kind of following the line. I'm not trying to fill it in with color, just giving the illusion of water. So I think that's good. Then I'm going to use my Golden Glow. I'm going to start with the light. And I see 4 flowers here. 1. Here, maybe a little blossom there, a bigger flower here, and one right there. I think that's a leaf. That's how I'm going to leave it, at least. It could be a flower. I don't know, what do you think? Is that a flower or a leaf? Maybe it's a little bud. Let's do, there we go. I like that. Then I'm going to do a little bit of shading with the darker to just give it a little bit of detail. Not a lot, these are pretty simple. All right. And then I pulled both my dark sea foam and my light mossy meadow, and I did a little sample trying to decide which one I like better. I think I'm going to go with the darker of those two, which is the light mossy meadow. I'm going to do a real light touch. So I'm just doing little lines. The alcohol, these are alcohol ink markers, and so the ink will move a little bit. So you don't always have to get right up to the edge. Sometimes it will move to that edge for you. So a lighter touch is better. You can always go back in and shade details if you need to. I'm gonna just trace the stems a little bit to just add to that green vibe, because I love the color green. All right, I like that. Oops. They give a nice satisfying snap when you cap them correctly. Okay, so when we go back to the DSP that I cut this from, I like the little lines, kind of like a table. And so I'm going to grab my dark basic black. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I think the table should be. And that's it. Yeah, I like that. And then I decided I wanted to try a little shading. This is my light gray granite, and I am using the brush tip, and I'm just going to kind of give that table a little bit of color. See what I think. It might need a little bit more, so I'm going to start on this side and come over a little bit more. And we'll see when that dries what we think. And then the other thing that I want to do is highlight that golden glow with a literal golden glow in the background. So I've got a blending brush, I've got my golden glow stamping pad. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what Stampin' Up is calling these anymore, Stampin' pads. I'm going to do a little off because I don't want that kind of blotch. I am going to start in the center where I know the vase will be covering, and I'm just going to give it a little glow to help that vase pop. I can always add more. That's really pretty. Do you see the contrast of that white? I think I'd like a little bit more. So there we go. All right. Gonna call that D for done. And now I'm gonna go ahead and add my seal. I'm not worried about getting all of that adhered. All right. Actually, I think I want to do it like that. Can't decide. Oh, there's a little bit of adhesive coming up right there. Let me just gonna push that from the front to the back. There we go. Okay, so that's our little focal image. Going to adhere that to the golden glow mat. I am going to do my best to center this top to bottom, left to right. I did want this to be cardstock so that it's nice and stiff because it's going to go right here. That's striking, actually. Yeah, I never know because I didn't plan ahead of time. I could probably go back and do a polka dot piece there, but that part's really not going to be seen. So I'm going to leave it as is and go ahead and I'm going to put some adhesive right here on the top so that I know that I get that stuck to get down really well, and across the bottom and kind of eyeballing what I would say is the middle of that. I'm going to close it back up and then do my best to center this top, bottom, left, right. And if you don't like how those pieces stick out, I like the dimension, but if you didn't like that, you could always add a little glue dot behind it. Now, here comes some decision making. I need a little bit of help. Do we want to put this card front on the Golden Glow like this, which is lovely, or do we want to put it on the black, which really makes the Golden Glow pop? What do you think? Let me try it again. Golden Glow on Golden Glow, or Golden Glow on the black. I'm checking the comments. I think I'm gonna go with the black. So I'm gonna, here's again that 4 1/4 by 11 inch cardstock base that I scored. I'm gonna just, this is two-tone black cardstock, so that's why this does look a little bit lighter. I'm gonna start at the top left, line that up. Alrighty, so there is the front of my card, and then I will nest this piece onto the front of that. So remember how I said that don't worry because this bottom's a little bit short, it's fine because that flap covers it like it's supposed to. Alright, let me get unstuck. Whew. Straighten this up. Doing my best to center that. I'm gonna go to the back and give it a good press. Alrighty, then I went ahead and pre-stamped Thinking of You on this little white strip. This is from the Scalloped Blooms photopolymer stamp set. It was handy and I love that sentiment. I don't want it to cover up that much. That's pretty though, but I like the texture of those dots. So I'm gonna do a little bit of cutting with my trimmer to start with. This is a fun technique, and if I mess it up, I have scraps I can try again. So remove that scoring blade. This one's a little bit tricky with this smaller piece. Okay, so I'm holding in place and I'm cutting and getting close to that Y, but not cutting the Y off. And then I'm carefully lifting this up and going right here between the Y and the O, or the F, I guess it's the F. Lifting that up. Oh, I cut the Y. Darn it. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Okay, I'm gonna restamp that. That was, it's okay, I have more. I was not being careful enough. So I say I have more and I don't know where they went. Huh, there they are. I was like, I know I have some. Okay. So Lynn, this one's for you, getting to watch me fix a mistake, and it might just be easier to do this with scissors since this has several different little tails to have to put it through. I just kind of tossed that down on the paper mat to let it relax a little bit before I place my block over the top to pick that up. That way I know it's straight and relaxed like it should be. Got my Memento black ink. I usually do like I just showed you tap, 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 a little twist, and then a few more taps to make sure that we're good and inky. And then I'm gonna hold it there. I'm really not applying a lot of pressure, but the longer you hold it there, the more the ink seeps into the paper, so that's why I was waiting. I'll clean that when we're done. Rather than use the trimmer, I'm going to just use my scissors and do my best. And I'm just going to kind of cut along the line here of this. I'm doing my best because I want it to have a slimmer profile than what it does right now. That's about a ½ inch or so strip of paper. Going across, going down and around and across, getting close to the tail of that Y, down and around, So what I was going to do with the trimmer is just cut a straight cut across and lift it up and then go around and cut the tail. But I was afraid I was going to mess that up. It's a little bit, especially on camera, a little bit, you know, no pressure. None whatsoever. Let me get a little closer with that one. Okay, so I have a question for y'all. If 7:30 on Thursdays isn't a good time, what might be a better time? I've wondered it would actually probably behoove me to go a little bit earlier. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. There is no good time for everybody, that's for sure. Okay, now these tails are way too long, but I wanted to see what I had here before I did anything about it. Don't like that sharp edge right there, so I think I'm just gonna follow that and actually follow that. Let's see what we think. Hey Nancy, thanks for joining. I'm just finishing up this little card. So I do like that a lot better. I think I'm just gonna go around the outside though, rather than try to make that something fancy that it's not. And same with right here. So don't be afraid to fussy cut. After all, it's only paper. There's plenty more where it came from. Okay. Yeah, I love that slimmer profile to be able to see the details, texture of the die cuts. I think that's pretty. All right, I am going to use my liquid glue and do shaking it down. I try to keep it pointed down on my desk. I know Nancy D, your son-in-law, has a cool 3D printed holder you can get on Nancy's website. Nancy, feel free to drop that in the comments because I don't remember off the top of my head. I know it's YB Stamping is kind of your handle. So let me just add this. I'm gonna hold it in place a moment so that it gets a good bond. So here we go. I'm gonna do some embellishing. I grabbed the 26-28 in color dots, and I think I'd like to use a few of the Golden Glow ones. I think I'll do, I don't know, 1, 2, and 3 to highlight that. That white background's kind of plain, but I think I like it. So the last thing I want to do is decorate the inside. I did cut some strips while I was cutting the rest of this paper. These are both 4 1/4 inches wide. This is about 1/4 inch tall, and this is about 1/2 inch. I didn't measure it too precisely, but I wanted to have this on the inside since the card is pretty plain. The other thing that I will do, you'll notice that the edge of the black card front is, you know, showing, so I'll trim that with my scissors before we're done here. Probably will not do that on camera. I think y'all understand by now how to do that. So I'm giving, again, a few little drops of glue on there. I'm gonna sort of zigzag squiggle. I don't want to get too much because it will squish out if you're not careful. But one of the things I love about the liquid glue is that you can wiggle things around a little bit. So if it's not quite straight, you can fix it. Okay, that looks pretty straight left to right. I don't know, I think I'm a little bit crooked sometimes. It would help if I used my grid the way I'm supposed to, because yeah, that is. There we go. And adding back in those polka dots. The other side is also beautiful, but I'm going to just stick with the polka dots and not get too busy. And that little bit off the edge I will also trim once the glue is dry. I'm going to try not to get glue on my scissors. And there we go. This, whoops, is the finished double easel fun fold. Now you could get crazy and decorate on here behind this, if you liked, maybe even would have been cute maybe to do an arch here with the sentiment and it'd be hidden at first. But this is a fun little stand-up card. So nice for a little special occasion that someone could keep propped up like on their desk or whatever as a fun thing. Thanks, Nancy. Appreciate it. So again, that's the double easel fun fold card. All you really need to know is that your cardstock base is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2 inches, and then the 4 by 10 1/4 inch fun fold part is scored at 5 and at 2 1/2, which actually I think is really 5 and 7 1/2 if you put the arm out. But anyway, hopefully this helped you, and if this inspires you to make something, I would love to see what you create. Feel free to drop it in the comments. I will also in the next few days type up my tutorial for this, so you'll have this in a much better format, and transfer this over to YouTube so that the video isn't lost after 30 days. So thanks so much for getting inky with me this evening. I wish all my American friends a very happy Independence Day weekend as we celebrate the 250th birthday of our nation. And I'll see you again live next Thursday. I do have my mini album stamp camp on Tuesday, the 7th. It is full, but there's another opportunity on the 25th. So if you'd like to know more about it, just let me know. And my monthly crafternoon is the 12th of this month. So if you're local, I hope that you can join me. And if you're not local and you like what you see and would like to get a kit or for the class on the 12th or for the mini album, just let me know. So thanks y'all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful festive 4th of July weekend. Take care and God bless America. Bye y'all.